Hello friends, it's Jenny. I want to offer a gentle yoga class today. So let's go ahead and start standing. So standing with hip distance between your feet. And what does that mean? Well, hip distance is if you take two of your fists and put them together, and then bend your knees and lean down and snug your fists kind of right in between your big toe mounds loosely. That's about hip distance apart, right? So we're just going to tune in first with our feet. Go ahead and take your hands to your hips and look down at your feet. Pick up your toes and see if you can spread them out as much as you can and lay them back down onto the mat. So you might start by anchoring your pinky and then subsequent toes down, and then look back down at your toes and see if you might just created a little more space in between your toes and maybe broadened into your balls of your feet, right? And then go ahead and pick up your heels and just sort of feel all of that support you have there at the front of your feet. That might be feeling like newfound support, or you might not feel anything different at all. And then anchor down into your heels, and then find a midway kind of even anchoring between the balls of your feet, the big toe mound, the pinky mound, and the center of your heel. Good. And then take a soft bend to your knees. Frequently, often what we'll find ourselves doing is maybe hyperextending our knees, which juts our bottom back and pushes our belly forward, right? So if we take a soft bend to our knees, then our tailbone can naturally draw down towards the floor and our belly isn't poofing forward, nor are our ribs thrusting forward, right? So we want to find this kind of plumb line, right? From the lobe of your ear, shoulder, ribs stacking over hips, hips over ankles. So go ahead and reset, pick up your toes, spread them out, lay them back down. So it's important to have this sure footing for all of our standing poses in yoga, right? So coming back to that mountain pose, which is this is what it's called in yoga, mountain pose, where our hands flip towards the front of the room and we anchor into our feet. Soften a little bit into the knees. It's not a deep bend, it's just a softening in the knees. The drawing naturally down of your tailbone without tucking. And then just a little bit of a natural draw in and up of your low belly. And then rather than shoulders here, rather than head here, right? Shoulders are stacked over hips and head is in line with your spine. So this is a great starting place for all our standing poses. It also really helps with our breathing, right? When we have good posture, our breath can flow more freely through us and can have that effect of calming our nervous system, right? When we're all kind of hunched or poking forward or jetting back, our diaphragm, our breathing mechanisms can't work in the way that they were designed to work. So we're going to start checking in with our breath by taking our left hand to our heart and our right hand to our belly. And then you could either close your eyes or soften your gaze down towards the tip of your nose. And it's almost like a stare. So in yoga, the focus point is called your drishti, your focus point. So find one for you that isn't moving. And again, it could be your eyes are simply closed. And then I want you to feel into the natural rhythm of your breath, just the natural rhythm of your breath. So without changing your breath at all, just notice how you breathe without changing it. And then begin to slowly deepen your breath. And as you begin to deepen your breath, could you bring your awareness to your palms and notice which hand moves first when you inhale? Which hand moves first when you inhale? So if you noticed that your top hand moves first when you inhale, I just want to make a suggestion and see if you can let your bottom hand move first, right? So for some, this might seem really unnatural. When we're anxious, and some of us are anxious a lot, when we're anxious, our breath usually initiates right up here in the chest, right? We go into that startle mode, whether it's that exaggerated or not, right? But if you notice, when you breathe that way, over the course of time, you'll get tension in your neck, your upper back, you might get headaches, and you might not be sleeping very well. So I want to invite you to do the inverse. So I want to invite you to start your breath in your belly. And if you're already doing that, great. But for now, let's just practice with that, where you inhale into your belly and then retract your belly back. And then inhale into your belly and retract your belly back, right? So that is naturally happening for us with a natural, optimal, healthy breath. But what also is happening is when our posture is good, right? That's included in this three-dimensional breathing. So think of your canister from your chin down into your pelvic floor. This whole section here is one big canister that you want to fill with breath, right? So while we initiate our breath in our belly, we're also stretching it out and around and up, right? So practice a couple more rounds just breathing into belly, and then we'll begin to move our awareness into our rib cage. But for now, let's just see what it feels like to breathe into the belly. So again, it might feel totally natural. It might feel really awkward. Just notice what it feels like for you. And as you're here, could you even begin to feel maybe your breath wrapping around into your waist, right? Maybe take your hands to your waist, just under your ribs, above your hip bones. Can you feel your breath there? It's okay if you can't. And then maybe take your hands to your back, and if you can't find your back, that's okay. And maybe feel your breath there. And again, this is a hard one. It's hard to feel our breath in our low back unless we're laying on the floor. So don't worry if you can't feel it at all. And then let's shift our awareness to our rib cage. We're going to hug our hands around our rib cage. We'll initiate our breath in the belly, and then we'll feel our rib cage expand outward into our hands. And it's okay if we can't feel that either, right? We're just learning maybe for the first time what optimal breathing really is, right? Soften your shoulders. So notice if your rib cage moved but your belly drew in, right? So if your breath looked like this, then you're still sending your inhale into your upper chest. Could your breath look like this? Right? Do you see the difference? So as opposed to this, we're talking this. Good. So you get the idea, right? So that is just a simple way to think about the breath. Think of your canister. Think about filling your canister three-dimensionally. And that might be for another practice. That might be for another time. I just wanted to invite that in because the breath is really the starting point. The posture and breath is the starting point for health, really, frankly, for optimal wellness and health. But it's also really important to bring into yoga as well, right? Because the breath has so much to do with movement in our yoga practice. Great, so let's come back to mountain pose. Pick up your toes, spread them out. Now that we know how to breathe a little bit better, we're going to take an inhale and lift our heels up off the floor, right? And then lower your heels back down. Take your breath with you. Inhale, lift up. Feel everything rise, kind of zippering everything up towards your midline. Soften your shoulders, and then exhale to lower. Couple more just like that. So we're building balance. We're building strength and stamina in our feet. We're building core strength too, right? So focus, concentration, balance, core strength. Strength in our feet, all the muscles in our feet and our ankles, right? Our feet are so important. They carry us around. We want to be able to be as mobile as possible well into our later years, right? So caring for our feet is key. Nice. Lower your heels back down. And then we'll inhale. Sweep your arms out and up. And then exhale. Hands come to your heart. Tuck your chin and snug your thumbs in between your in your breastbone. And then inhale. Arms float out and up. Connect your palms up overhead. Look up. And then exhale, bring your hands to your heart and snug your thumbs just at your sternum. And then inhale, arms reach up overhead. And exhale, hands to heart. Now I'd like to start with a forward fold. And a forward fold isn't very easy for many people for all sorts of reasons. Many of the reasons are tight hamstrings and low back pain, which are connected, right? So I'm going to turn around so that you can see how I want you to come down into a forward fold every time, right? So here's the way I wouldn't want to see you come into a forward fold. So if you've watched any yoga videos online, many of them will show you a forward fold like this. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, and then rising back up. And that is perfectly fine, but for our purposes, we want to be really mindful of low back and hamstring muscles, right? Especially if we've been doing a lot of sitting lately, or if we're recovering from injuries, any number of reasons, right, can cause us to have low back pain, and most people have tight hamstrings, right? So instead of spilling forward here, right, or here, which we never really want to do, is hunching forward here. That's terrible for low back, right? We want to take a hinge in our hips. So it's a shifting of the hips back and then a lowering down, right? So you see how my knees are a little bit bent? So I'm protecting low back. So now I can reach the floor because I've been doing yoga for 30 years and I have long arms. You might not reach the floor, and that's okay. That's still a forward fold. Another option would be to rest here, right? You're still in a forward fold, right? You're coming down with your heart, and your heart hopefully is under your hips in some way, shape, or form. So find the forward fold that feels suitable in your body, right? So maybe it's the modified here, right? Maybe it's here. But either way, you want to let your arms dangle and your head drop, right? And then we'll lift up halfway. So shift your fingers towards your shins, pull your shoulders back, and send your heart away from your navel. And then exhale to lower. Do that 2 more times. Inhale to rise up. Press down into your feet. And then exhale to lower. 1 more time. Inhale, rise up. You're moving your heart away from your navel. You're looking down, but I'm looking at you. Exhale to lower. And then to rise up, find your little knee bend, very slight, right? And then inhale your arms forward and up. Notice the hinge in the hips. And then rise all the way up to stand. Exhale, hands to heart. We're going to take a few dives down into forward fold and then back up. So this is the beginning. These are the beginning pieces of a sun salutation, which I want to break down for us today. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, swan dive forward, hinging at your hips, lower down any amount. And you could find blocks to lower onto, right? Your blocks can be helpful, or big books. Inhale to halfway rise. Exhale to forward fold. Good. And then go ahead and bend your knees. Walk yourself back into a tabletop position, right? So you're going to get there however you get there. There's no right or wrong. I like to take a blanket under my knees. We're coming into cow and cat. So just like when we spread out in between our toes, we're going to do the same with our fingers. So get lots and lots of space in between your fingers and stack your hands underneath. I realize you can't see my hands. Stack your hands underneath your shoulders. You kind of want your wrist creases lined up under your shoulders. Now, if your shoulders feel really tight and they're rolling forward, I would recommend walking your hands a little bit out towards the sides of your mat, like almost like a little duck, right? And that way it opens up your shoulders, opens up your chest, your collarbones, and you've got more room to come through for your cow stretch and back for your cat stretch. So I'm going to turn around so you can see what it looks like from the side. Inhale. And I have a big lump in my upper back because it's the microphone. Inhale, lift for your cow. Exhale, curl for your cat. Do that a couple more times. Again, you find the hand placement that feels suitable for you. Good, and then we'll go ahead and find a neutral spine. Pick up your left foot and bring it forward, right? So we want to bring it forward so that when we rise up, we can dip down a little bit into that right hip to feel a stretch through the front of our hip, right? You might stay right here, or you might float your one arm up. You might float both arms up, right? So think cinch at your hips, right? Kind of almost like someone's pushing your hips together. Good. Inhale, breath. Exhale, lower. Hands come down. Keep your right hand where it is. Inhale your left arm up. Send your gaze up. Open up into your chest. Don't let your left hip snug up into your waist. And then exhale, lower. Shift your hips back now and fold over this left leg any amount. So again, here could be handy. 2 blocks, perhaps, either side of your foot. My other one is up there. I'll grab it in a second. So we're folding over our left leg any amount. And you might have a bend in this left knee, and that's as far as you go, and that's okay. Good, and then come on back. Come off your blocks. Walk your knee back in. Take second side, right foot forward. And then dip your hips down a little so you get the stretch in the front of the left hip. Cinch your hips together. Maybe you come here with support on your leg or knee, or maybe arms reach up, maybe just one arm reaches up, right? So remember, you have all these variations you can take. So your legs are strong. Imagine you're trying to scissor your inner thighs towards each other. So really powerful legs. Good, and then exhale to lower. Left hand stays where it is. Right arm reaches up for your twist. So again, you might be at your block, right? Or your book. The blocks are there to build the floor up to meet us, right? So that we're not struggling to reach the floor. Exhale, lower your arm down and shift your hips back. Again, maybe using blocks, folding over your right leg. You could lift your right toes. That might be too intense of a stretch, but you decide. Good, and then come on back. Hands to the mat or blocks and bring your knee back. We're going to find child's pose here. So I'm going to turn around and show you what child's pose looks like. So many of you probably already know this. This is child's pose. But you notice my knees aren't very far apart. If you decide you want to take your knees wider, you can. It's just called prayer pose. And then you come forward and there's lots of space for your belly and your chest. So what we really do want is our forehead to find a landing place in our child's pose. So again, here your block or your folded blanket or towel can come in really handy to take the weight of your head. And find your breath here again, right? Feel that canister, your nice long spine, wrapping your breath around 3-dimensionally, starting from the bottom up, expanding outward, like you're filling a balloon. And then go ahead and come on back. We're going to tuck our toes, take an inhale breath, and then cinch into your core here. So our core, every time we move our body weight, we want our core to engage, right? So we want our core to stay strong. We want our center to help lift us into any pose and transition in and out of any pose. So on an exhale breath with tucked toes, and tucked toes means here. Good. Yes, we're exhaling to downward facing dog. So we're lifting our hips on the exhale, we're shifting our chest back. And you might decide straight away that you need to bend your knees. That's fine. Notice if you're here in your down dog. If that's the case, bend your knees and shift your chest back towards your thighs. Downward dog has the feet hip width or wider apart. I need to come onto my sticky mat. Good. So what we want to feel is a lift in our tailbone and our sits bones. So if you're not feeling that, bend your knees and find that. Shift your chest back towards your thighs. And then releasing this by walking your feet up to the top of your mat. I know, easier said than done, right? It's awkward for everyone. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, forward fold. Hinging at your hips to rise back up. Exhale, hands to heart. Circle sweep your arms out and up. Inhale. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale, circle sweep. And exhale, hands to heart. Good. So we'll take a simple breakdown of a sun salutation now that we're a little bit more warmed up. And before we do, let's just get into our hips a little bit. I want you to take your feet as wide as your mat or a little wider than hip distance. Take your hands to your hips, bend your knees, and just begin to make some slow circles here in your hips. Good, and then reversing your circles. Good, and then just notice where any stiffness might arise. And wherever you've noticed stiffness, could you just stop, take a moment, and imagine sending a deep breath into that area of stiffness. And then letting that breath out your mouth. Nice deep sigh. And then get back to your circles. So hip mobility is so key for us to be able to continue healthy mobility throughout our lifetime. Okay, come back to center and bend your knees again, and then we're finding pelvic tilts now this time. So pelvic tilt is tuck your tailbone under, and then shift your tailbone back, and then tuck your tailbone under, and then shift your tailbone back. And then continue a couple more rounds just like that. And notice when you tuck your tailbone under, you're using your core, you're using your glutes. It's a great exercise. So you could even do this when you're brushing your teeth, right? When you're washing the dishes. And the other one you can do while you're brushing your teeth too is the heel raises that we did at the beginning of class. Good, so we're gonna break down a simple sun salutation. We start at the top of our mat. And again, feet are hip distance apart. We'll inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold forward. Good, step your right foot back, drop your right knee. Inhale, rise up. And again, rise up any amount. You can stay low, yes? So lots of ranges, lots of choices. And then exhale, lower. Pick up your right knee. Step it down to downward facing dog. So left foot shifts back to downward facing dog. Good. Then lift your right knee. Take an inhale. Exhale, bring your right foot forward. Drop your left knee. And again, you could stay low or you could come high. Inhale. Keep breathing here. That's the key. And we're linking our breath with our movement, right? So we're not holding our breath when we transition through poses. Pick up your left knee. And this time we're bringing our left foot all the way up to meet our right foot at the top of the mat in our forward fold. Let your neck relax. Let your arms relax. And then inhale, halfway rise. Pick your shoulders, the heads of your arm bones. Pick them up as if you're trying to reach them towards the ceiling. Your head moves away from your navel. And then exhale, forward fold. So head away from tailbone. Yeah. Heart pulls away from navel. Exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, and again, your version of forward fold, right? It could be here, and you inhale, and you exhale. You inhale, you exhale. Eventually, we'll press into our strong feet, rise up, inhale, arms float up overhead. Exhale, hands come to heart. And then we'll work with the second side. Inhale, arms circle sweep up. Exhale, hinge forward, swan dive all the way back down. Good. Bend your knees, step your left foot back for lunge, drop your left knee, rise up if you're rising up. Inhale, breath. Let's stay for another 2 breaths. As we exhale, we're going to exhale H-A. Good. Inhale. H-A. Inhale. H-A. I know I said 2, but really it was 3. And then bring your arms forward. Exhale your hands down. Pick up your left knee. Good. And then move from your center as you exhale and pick up your hips and bring your right foot back. Good. Inhale, breath here. Your version of downward facing dog, right? You're pushing the floor away from you, extending through your arm bones and sending your chest back towards your thighs. Good. Exhale your left knee. Bring your left foot forward on your exhale. Drop your right knee. Inhale, rise up. So again, rising up your way. Could be right here. Could be staying low still. And then we'll take the 3 rounds where we goal post our arms. But we want to be really solid here in our hips. So many of us, me included, have pretty weak outer hips, right? Unless we're really focusing on every day working on outer hip strength, it's it's pretty common for us to have our outer hips not as strong as the rest of our hips, right? Inhale, breath. So exhale, breath. Out your mouth. Draw your belly in and up as your elbows shift down. 2 more just like that. And remember, we're trying to cinch our hips together, so we're powering up the outer left hip. Inhale. Exhale. Good, so we've done 3. We'll inhale. Back up. Exhale, forward. Strong inner thighs in those lunges. Pick up your back knee, and then with a little spring forward and movement in our core, right? Move from your center. Exhale your foot forward. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart, and then rise up. Exhale, hands to heart. Good. Nicely done. So I want you to give yourself a hug. Notice which arm is on top, because we're going to take a hug on the other side too. And wrap your fingers around behind you as much as you can. Yeah. And then inhale here. Exhale. Out your mouth, soften your shoulders. Good, and then release that. Let your arms kind of swing around. And then let your arms swing to wrap around your body as you move your torso from side to side. Kind of helicoptering your arms around your body. Knees are soft, right? They're not locked out. And then we'll come back, slowing it down. Good. And then give yourself a hug again, this time with the other arm on top. You'll probably know it. Whichever arm you didn't have, doesn't matter. Big breath in, big breath out. Breath in from your belly, stretch it out. And up. Good. And then release your arms. Let them swing around. Bend your knees, walk your feet wider apart. And then let your arms swing back and forth and back and forth. Kind of like an orangutan. Good. So notice here, we're kind of in a mini squat, right? So keep where you're at, but just have a peek and just see, is your squat looking like this? Like your tailbone is tucked underneath you. If that's the case, reset your squat so that you could imagine if there were a chair behind you, you would find it with your bottom, right? If your tailbone's tucked, you're not going to find that chair. You'll find it if your bottom is sticking out, right? And just swing your arms. And then let them find stillness. And then bring your body back up, hinging at your hips, hands to your hips. We are going to make our way down onto our back to take a brief pause in our final pose, which is called Shavasana, or relaxation or surrender pose. So I want you to have all of the comfort and props that you need for this. So it might look something like you lay down and you roll your blanket or your towel underneath your knees. That is a great relief for low back, right? So my blanket is under my knees, but then maybe my head needs support too, right? So when you come to lay down, decide if you want another blanket under your head. If you only have one blanket handy, use that blanket or towel for your head and take your 2 blocks underneath your knees, right? And then come to lay on your mat. I won't lay down with you because I have a microphone in my back attached to me, so I can't lay down. But I want you to lay down with support in your knee, under your knees, so your low back feels supported. The other option is to forget all that support in your knees and just keep your knees bent, right? And you might even place your blanket underneath your hips for a little elevation. So lots of ways to land in your final, so this would be you. I can't lay down all the way, but this is another option, right? With a little bit of lift in your hips. So wherever you land in Shavasana, the whole idea is that you let go, right? That you are able to surrender. So if you have a lot of distractions in your body, that's why we use the props, so that our body can feel safe and completely let go for just even 3 to 5 minutes, right? So the whole purpose of Shavasana is to allow all of what we've done in our yoga practice to integrate, right? So that our muscles are forming new memories, And all the gifts of your yoga practice get to sort of percolate into every cell in your being. So this is your opportunity to soften your gaze or close your eyes, soften your belly, let go of any breath control, and just be. And then you can stay there as long as you like. As long as you like. If you would like to add a breath technique on to the end of your class here, so it's a breathing meditation, really similar to what we've already worked with, a hand to belly, hand to heart. And breathe into our belly and breathe out from our belly, but we're going to fill our canister three-dimensionally. You can do this on your back. You can do this sitting up. It's a lot easier on your back, so I would recommend that you stay there. And all we're going to do is, you may have heard of it before, sometimes it's called box breathing. It's samavriti in yoga, and it's just, we're going to count the same breath in as the breath out. So for us, we'll do a count of 4 on our inhale. We'll inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, in through our nose. Your mouth is closed, and then you're exhaling out your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. We pause for a count of 2, and then we inhale again. 1, 2, 3, 4, all filled up with breath. Hold, 2, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause, 2, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can continue that breath if you'd like. You can even add more breath to it, add another count. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed your gentle yoga class.